Alright, so today we want to talk about solving two-step equations, basically just building on what we've been learning throughout the week. So we've already solved the one-step equations. Now we want to solve it with two steps, and we also want to look at some real-world examples involving those equations. Now, two-step equations are any equation that involves two different operations. So you might have both plus and multiplication. You might have both subtraction and division. But let's go ahead and take a look. Remember before, when we were looking at order of operations, how to simplify an expression, we did please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Now we're trying to do detective work. We're trying to work backwards and solve for a variable. So don't get scared here. Just remember we're working backwards. So we want to go S, A, D, M, E, P. And an acronym for this one, I don't want to take credit for this. I didn't make it up. We can say sometimes a dumb monkey eats poop. So if that helps you remember it, fine. Otherwise, just remember that we're doing PEMDAS backwards. Alright, so let's take a look at this first example here. We have 2m plus 8 equals 32. The first thing we're going to do is subtract or add to isolate. Remember, our goal is always, as our detective work goes here, we always want to isolate this variable m to figure out what m equals. So let's subtract 8, since 8 is not like 2m, but 8 is like 32. So we're going to subtract 8, cross out the 8s. We're going to get 2m equals 32 minus 8, or simplifying it, we get 2m equals 24, because 32 minus 8 is 24. Now we just have our one-step problem. We'll just go divide 2, cross out the 2's, m equals 12. And so we can say twice 12 plus 8 is 32. So 24 plus 8 is 32. With this example, we've got w over 4, or w divided by 4, plus 6 equals 39. Again, let's get this w term by itself. So we'll subtract 6 from either side. The 6 plus negative 6 is 0, so it goes away. We get w divided by 4 equals 9 minus 6, which is 3. So now remember, with multiplication, we multiply both sides by the bottom, the denominator. W over 4 times 4 gives me just plain old w, because the 4's cancel out to give me 1. And 3 times 4 will give me 12. If I take 12 divided by 4 and add 6, I get 3 plus 6, which is 9. So it checks out. So go ahead and try to solve for b. 5b plus 4 equals 79. Pause if you need to. And try this one. n divided by 6 plus 2 equals 3. I'll give you a chance to pause. Let's take a look at subtracting the variable. We have a couple options here. Our goal, again, is to get the variable by itself. So we could subtract 5, but we're still left with subtraction. Remember, this minus is also a plus negative. So we're left with a minus x is equal to 17 minus 5, or 12. Hopefully it makes sense that I can multiply both sides by negative 1, or divide by negative 1 for that matter, and I get x equals negative 12. So if negative x equals positive 12, I hope it makes sense that positive x equals negative 12. Another option we could have had, if we start with 5 minus x equals 17, we could have added this x to both sides. We get 5 equals 17 plus x. Now we can subtract the 17 from both sides, and we get 5 minus 17, or negative 12, equals x. So whichever way you prefer, just make sure you don't forget to leave out this negative sign with the x. So see if you've understood that by solving for m here. 9 equals negative 4 minus m. And now we're going to look at a multi-step equation to solve. Notice we've got two like terms here, 5x and 3x, that we're going to need to combine in order to simplify this. So let's take 5x plus 3x, remember, that gives me a total of 8 x's, minus 5 equals 27. Now we've got ourselves a two-step problem. We're going to isolate the x by adding 5 to both sides. So we're going to end up with 8x equals 27 plus 5, which is 32. Now we're multiplying the 8 and the x, so we're going to do the opposite. We're going to divide by 8, divide by 8. Your 8's cross out. You get x equals 32 divided by 8, which is 4. Now let's try this one. Terms are numbers. We have 4 and negative 3. So let's make that w over 3 plus 4 plus negative 3 equals 12. So we can combine the 4 and the negative 3. We get 1. And that still equals 12. Let's subtract the 1 from both sides. We get w over 3 equals 12 minus 1, or 11. Now let's multiply both sides by 3 to get that 3 off the bottom. And we get these to cross out, and our answer is w equals 33. For this example, we've got like terms as in negative 4c, and remember that that's a negative 2c. So negative 4c plus negative 2c is going to give me negative 6c. I still have the 6, so I'm going to add 6, and I have 30. So remember, all I did was add this over to that to get my negative 6c. So let's subtract 6 from each side. We get negative 6c equals 30 minus 6, which is 24. And let's divide both sides by negative 6. And we're going to get c on this side because the negative 6 cancel out. We're going to get negative 4 on this side. If we put it into our equation, we see that negative 4 times 4, or I'm sorry, negative 4 is 16, because I just put it in for c over here. We add 6 to that, and we're going to get 22. And then we subtract 2 times negative 4. So we're subtracting 2 times negative 4, which is negative 8. So in a sense, we're adding 8. And 22 plus 8 is 30. So you can see that our answer checks out. Since these are a little more complicated, I'd like to look at some extra examples. We've got 11 minus 4d minus 8 equals 19. Let's switch our numbers around. Remember, we're subtracting the 8, so keep that minus sign. We're subtracting the 4d. I'm switching them around because these 11 and the negative 8 are like terms. They don't have this d variable attached, unlike the negative 4d. So 11 minus 8 is 3, minus 4d equals 19. So now we're going to get this d by itself. Let's subtract 3 from either side. Don't forget to include the negative, because remember, we're adding a negative here whenever we have a subtraction. So we'll cross out the 3's. We're left with a negative 4d equals 16. Now let's divide both sides by negative 4. The negative 4's cross out. Negative 4. We get d equals 16 divided by negative 4, which is negative 4. For this one, we've got b, and now we're going to combine like terms before solving. So we've got b, negative 3b, 8, and of course 18. b minus 3b, or b plus negative 3b, gives me negative 2b. I'm taking 1 and taking away 3, plus 8 equals 18. Let's get that b isolated, so subtract this 8 term, which has nothing to do with b, and we have negative 2b equals 18 minus 8, or 10. Now let's divide both sides by negative 2, and we're going to get b is equal to 10 divided by negative 2 is negative 5. So again, just working backwards from subtraction all the way back to the beginning. So now go ahead and try this example. 9 equals 13 minus x plus 5x, and solve for x. And once you finish that, that concludes our lesson for today. So hopefully you have a good understanding of how we can solve for a variable when there might be more than one of them, or you have different steps involved. And make sure you complete all the assessment questions as well as your review assignment for today. Ask me if you've got any questions.